MED 725, going to talk a little bit about philosophy, the other half of this course, which is music history, as we've discussed, as well as philosophy. Philosophy is a word that eludes a lot of us, depending on your age, depending on your experiences, depending on some of your training. What is philosophy? We tend to think of Socrates or Aristotle, high, lofty thinking people. And really, what a philosophy is a reason why you do the things you do. Some people would describe it kind of like morals, that compass that directs our behavior, our character. A philosophy is very much the same thing. I'm a French horn player, and you'll probably hear some French horns playing on this video. If you're unaware, the horn studio is right next to my office, and as a horn player, it's interesting to sit here and hear horn players playing their rep, things that I know very well. But if I went next door and I talked to Dr. Lucas, and I said, Dr. Lucas, why do you teach the things you teach? They're based on her experiences, but all of her experiences go into her philosophy, the thing that directs why she does what she does. How much sight reading do they do? How much do they play fundamentals? How much does she have them play Baroque music or Renaissance music or classical horn music or things for the natural horn or things for B flat horn or things for F horn or horn choirs or duets or only the orchestral rep and the things that the students are going to need for orchestral auditions. In music ed, it's the same thing. Why do I go visit some band programs or choir programs or orchestra programs to learn that those teachers have given the students 6 pieces of music in September, and in May they take those back up, and that's the only music the students have seen? Why do they do that? Why do some people make it a goal that every year their top ensemble is going to sight read 100 pieces? Why do some people program pop music and classical music on their concerts? Why do some band directors really avoid transcriptions and not want to program them? Why is that? Why would they do that? Well, they have a philosophy. They have something that steers, guides, navigates, shows direction for what they do. Excuse me, what they do in their class, in their curriculum. Um, also say this: a lot of students have a hard time with philosophy, especially the younger they are at first, because learning about others' philosophy, learning about writing your own philosophy means you've got to be open-minded. You've got to think um, about a lot of things, maybe very differently than you have in the past. At some point in our past, we believed that only men should learn and women should never go to school. In our past, we have believed um, that only men should study music and not women. In our past, we believed that only men should play tennis and not women. We have believed in our past that depending on the color of your skin, you should use a different bathroom, one way more clean than the other. You should eat in certain places in the restaurant. You should sit in a certain spot on the bus. In our not so distant past, we believed that women who showed their knees uh, were horrible people. We have believed in our past um, that men with long hair had low moral standards. Um, Lots of things that just have changed over time because we as society have changed over time. And you might think, well, and there's some things that have changed over time that are not good things, and I would agree with you. Uh, but I also would say that thinking about those things and coming up with why and what things we hang on to and what things we believe and what things we bring into the classroom are important, and it's important for us to rethink them. I also think it's very, very important when someone says something that's in contradiction to something that we believe or something we've held true for a very, very long time, that we stop and we at least consider it. If nothing else, to be considerate of the person who's making that statement. For example, we are told in almost every ensemble situation in our schools that we need to listen down to the basses and tune to them, or listen down to the basses and balance to them. So in choir or orchestra or band, we hear that quite often. It has to do with pyramid of sound. Some of you, probably most of you know that term, the pyramid of sound, meaning more bass sound than middle sound, less middle sound, and even less upper sound, so that everything sounds really big and rich and full. Well, maybe Stravinsky didn't want the octet for winds to sound big and thick and full all the time. Maybe he wanted to sound very trebly so it could sound more dance-like or more pointed. Maybe the band I inherited as a first-year teacher has 40 people in it, and the only bass instrument I have is bass clarinet. So I'm going to ask everybody else to play mezzo piano actually pianissimo the whole time and ask that person to play triple F so I get this pyramid of sound? It depends. It really depends. What if I've got my basses on the far right of my choir for this particular piece and the way it's written? Maybe the composer said he wants it set up that way or she wants it set up that way. I need all the male voices on the right by the percussion ensemble. So you're going to ask the soprano on the far end, if you can't hear the basses, I need you to back off. Really? Is that really what you want that person to do? And do you want that 14-year-old girl to make that decision on her own? If she's really, really smart and conscientious, she's going to stop singing. Because she probably can't hear the basses at all. Especially if there's 30 people between her and the first bass voice. So we hear that. That's just not true for all situations, for all people in all ensembles. There's also an awful lot of research that says we are way less accurate knowing when we're in tune when we're listening to bass sounds. So this research goes something like this. Whether you're a vocalist or an instrumentalist, you go into a room and someone plays a recording of a pitch. And you have to sing that pitch or up the octave or play that note. And then when you're satisfied with your pitch, you think you're completely in tune, you just stop playing. And then they'll play a middle range pitch, and if you can play that pitch or sing that pitch, then you sing or play that pitch, and you wait until you're in tune, and then you stop. And they play upper note, and you sing and you play until you're comfortable that you're in tune. Now, you have the option of singing or playing an octave away from that tuning pitch. And so there are machines that record this, and there are printouts. So the person that first came in that played clarinet, let me see, they were most accurate. And keep in mind that clarinet player stopped when they felt like they were in tune. They thought perfection was happening. Okay, let me see. They were not very effective tuning to the upper pitch, and they were not very effective tuning to the lower pitch compared to the middle one. The middle one, they were indeed perfectly in tune. With the bass instrument, they were 14 cents off, and with the treble instrument, they were 24 cents off. They thought they were perfectly in tune, but actually they were 24 cents sharp. There's something about the human ear and about where we fall into this whole process, and not hundreds, but thousands and tens of thousands of people through this process and this research that shows we best tune to middle range pitches. And if you think about it, a lot of our orchestras do that already. A lot of our bands do that already. But then sometimes in rehearsal, we'll have tubas play. All right, tubas, play your pitch. Do. And you add the fifth. That's an octave, sorry. You might add the octave if you got the octave up, got that same pitch up the octave. Then you might add the fifth, boom. And you might add the third if it's a major chord or minor chord or whatever it is. And in our minds, we're going, okay, I'm building this chord from the bottom up. And that's great and that's fine. It allows us all to hear it. But have you put those tubas to a tuner before you started this process? What if it's a C and tuba is playing 38 cents sharp? And now I've got a trombone who's in first position and is flat, and he's trying to change it because he hears that he's flat compared to the tuba, and he can't. I can't go anywhere on my slide. It's all the way in. We have found that when we tune to perfect pitches, when we tune to something that's sounding a pitch that's in tune, we're way more accurate when it's in the middle. So this universal statement we've heard our whole lives about tuning to the lowest note and blending to the lowest note is very difficult for us to do. So why are we doing it? Well, my philosophy is if I was taught that way, I'm going to teach that way. We have to question these things. They don't always work. Interesting. Very interesting. I think. Anyhow, philosophy. Philosophies are not methodologies. Sometimes students will write their philosophy of music ed and they'll go, and first I'll go in the room and I'll do this, and I'll do this, and I'll do this, and I'll do this, and then I'll do that. Like a lesson plan. And those are procedures. Those are methods of how you're going to teach. I want to know, other people want to know, your philosophy wants to display why. Why do you believe what you believe? Why are you going to do what you do? What is that compass that points you in the direction of the things that you do? Look at my notes here. Although these people's names out, they're very important to know. There are three of them. The father of music ed philosophy, so to speak. His name is Bennett Reimer. Bennett Reimer, R-E-I-M-E-R. Very important. Look him up, please. You'll be responsible for knowing some things about him. And then his student, David Elliott, also very, very important. Important to know that David Elliott was Bennett Reamer's student. Bennett Reamer very much believes in an aesthetic view of music ed, that music is to be experienced and thought about and a part of enriching our lives in that way. David Elliott, his student, has a very different approach. He believes it's about practice, it's about doing, not practice in a practice room. It's about doing music, whether that's in a drum circle, that's playing your clarinet, that's singing in an orchestral chorale, whatever it is, playing viola, playing violin, playing banjo, playing Jew's harp. Um, that it is about listening and participating in many different ways, but it's really about the human want to do things. With that having been said, please keep in mind that we have a very narrow, unless we've made effort for it not to be, view of what music and music making is. When I went to get my PhD, a student came to visit campus for our first home game. Hotty toddy. I had to say that. Sorry. We're big into football here. All of the music ed professors, we enjoy talking football. Dr. Schlegel and I are big LSU fans because we both went to LSU. I'm also a big Ole Miss fan, and I know you're thinking, but they're rivals. I pull for LSU all the time when they play Ole Miss. Otherwise, I pull for both teams. Dr. Parker is a big Alabama fan. You can just imagine what it's like when the three of us get together. Anyhow, sorry for the off the course talking about college football. These three people, very important. Bennett Reamer, David Elliott, his student, who then kind of went a different direction, who believes very much in the doing part of things. And in our culture, we believe music might be playing in band, orchestra, or singing in choir. In lots of other cultures where things are different, different experiences, music means moving and singing, or moving and playing and singing and reacting, and the goosebumps. And the whole experience is what defines music. So when we say music making, we can't take the approach of the student that I met at Ole Miss. He had just finished his undergrad, had a new choir job in the area, and we were just talking. I said, "Well, how's it going?" Well, as soon as I can get these kids to figure out that crap they listen to, excuse me if I offend anybody with that word, is not music. As soon as I can get them to understand that we need to be listening and performing Bach and Beethoven and Lordson, and I just thought, wow, I don't think you're going to be very successful. If you're trying to convince them from day one that the music they like and love and listen to and consume, that inspires them, moves them emotionally, is bad, I don't think you're going to gain their confidence very quickly. His philosophy may be classical music only. We stand on risers. We do exactly what we did in Ole Miss when I was in the choir at Ole Miss, which is what we do at USM, which is what we do at Georgia, which we do at Alabama. We sing great rep. We sing it well. But that's not where our college students have started. Most of them have been in high school choirs and have been exposed over time to art music. So if you walk into a program that's had no exposure and you try to do it from day one, may not be the right way to go about it. So even though that quality music may be part of his philosophy also needs to include, I think, all of our philosophies need to include knowing where our students are. Who are they? What do they know? And if I want them to get a point B, I gotta know where point A is. I can't immediately go to point B. That's part of my philosophy. It may or may not be yours right now, maybe yours in the future. Our philosophies often change and should change as we grow, as we experience more and more things. Something else about philosophy, very, very important. It should help justify why we do what we do, but not just that, why we should keep the programs in our schools. The United States has the best music ed system in our schools in the world. Japan has a lot of great programs. Australia has some, and then it falls off very, very quickly. It's just not part of other school cultures in other countries. There's lots of reasons why that happened. We'll talk about that more when we talk about more about music history and why the United States has such strong programs. Let's just talk about programs being cut. We often say, "Oh God, music programs are being cut left and right." Well, if you say left and right, my impression is a lot of them. Like if I say to my mom and dad, "My music programs are being cut left and right," my mom and dad are probably going to be thinking, "Wow, a lot of them." And that's just not true. Um, are there some being cut? Sure. Are there some states or some counties or some parishes, if we don't leave Louisiana out, where they're being cut? Absolutely. What we don't hear about is how many schools are adding it to the curriculum. What we don't hear about is all the new charter schools and all the new magnet schools that are making the arts the center of what they do. So I think overall in the United States, if we want to be accurate today in the year 2013, we can't say that music programs are being cut left and right. We can say that we may have a bit fewer programs now than we did 10 years ago, but less than 1%. And right now that's pretty small. And I think we get too wrapped up in them being cut left and right. I also think we get too wrapped up in comparing music to football or music to sports. I think by doing that, we're actually maybe honoring sports. I think those analogies work in some cases, and I think in some cases we need to use that as a tool to kind of justify what we do or help keep our program strong, but not solely. So here's a scenario that's going to make some of you uncomfortable. Some of you are going to understand and agree, and some of you are going to need to turn the video off and think about it. So let's say you teach in a rural school district. There's 3 of you, and the district only offers, let's say, choir and band. That's probably more common than offering just band and orchestra or just choir and orchestra. Let's say what is most common. Excuse me, band and choir. And there's 3 of you, and you teach all 3 curriculums. There is an elementary music specialist, and then you guys do all the middle school program and all the high school programs. Only one high school, one middle school. And as the head director, the district goes to you and says, as you know, we're having a financial crisis and we're going to need to cut some programs, and you're on the list. And I know that's bad news and you don't want to hear that. But to be fair to you and your program and your kids, because, man, you guys in the last 4 years have grown the program by 50%, and that's just great, fantastic. We couldn't be happier. Next week, you're going to have 20 minutes to speak to the school board by themselves, and after your 20 minutes, we're going to deliberate for 30, and then we'll come out and we'll let you know the fate of the program, and we'll give you a year. You'll have a year to find another job. The kids will have a year to find private instruction, or for churches to maybe take up some of that slack and start offering some kind of music programs after school or something. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So you go home and you think about what band meant to you and what it means to you now, what choir means to you, what orchestra means to you now, and you go back to the school board and you're ready to go. You're fired up. You have thought about this. You are so impassioned about what you believe. And so you say to the school board, thank you so much for this opportunity. You do know that we have grown the program in 4 years by 50%, which is a large increase. The number of trophies, the number of contests we've gone to and done well, the praise, the letters from outside sources, parents being happy, kids being happy, just overwhelming. You guys need to understand that for a lot of these kids, band and choir is a home away from home. For band and choir, they don't go to their homeroom teacher at the beginning of the day until the bell rings. They come to the choir hall or the band hall. They learn teamwork. They learn great teamwork. They learn that hard work really pays off. They learn self-discipline. They learn to be on time, because you can't be late. You can't do what we do and be late. You have to be on time. Everybody is important. You learn that. You learn so many things that make this so important. There are kids that come to school because of choir. There are kids that come to school because of band. They don't want to learn English or math or science. And I believe those things are important. But choir and band make that a reality for the kids. And for these reasons, you need to keep the program. Thank you for your time. So you walk out, and you're really happy. And you talked way longer than I did. You talked your full 20 minutes, and you kept saying those things over and over again, and you were passionate. You may have been, it's just so important to these kids. I'm not making fun of us. And I say us, I'm a music educator. And you're in the lobby, wherever, outside the room, and the board comes out. And they all shake your hand, and they're being very professional, and they're smiling. And Mr. Waymire, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for everything you've done for the program in the last 4 years. We appreciate you preparing that 20-minute speech for us. It is so inspiring to see a teacher that cares this passionately about your subject matter. But the truth is, we have lots of teachers in our district that care that passionately about their subject matter. And you named all these great things: teamwork, camaraderie, and a home away from home, and family, and togetherness, and hard work paying off. Um, but we've decided to cut the program. And again, as we've described, you'll have a year to find another position. We'll be more than happy to write glowing recommendations for you and your colleagues. So give families the time to decide how their students are going to continue with music or not. And we hope that you understand that this is not personal. And again, thank you for your time. So you're blown away, right? You go home, you're not happy, you tell your wife, your husband, call your best friend on the phone, you tell them what happened, and you're down about it, and it is what it is. You have no control at this point. A couple days later, you go to church, or you go to the grocery store, and you see Bob, and Bob is a friend of yours, and he's also on the school board. You say, Bob, I don't mean to be unprofessional, and I don't want to pry where I shouldn't, but boy, if I'm ever in that position again, I want to do a better job. I want to make sure that something I say made everybody stop and go, we just can't cut it. We'll find the money. We'll make this happen. What kept me from doing that? And Bob, who was a choir director for 15 years before getting a higher admin degree, and then making it on the school board in the school district, who can totally relate to what you do and everything you said, looks at you and says, Mark, we have a very successful dance team. Matter of fact, there's 100 girls on the dance team, as you know, and there's just 120 in band. We've got a football program that has 120 kids on it. We have a baseball program with approximately 80. We have the largest chess club in the state. 200 kids participate in our chess club. We have a Happy Hands club inspired by Napoleon Dynamite. We thought, what an amazing thing. And all of our kids that don't really have the time for band or orchestra or choir or athletics, they do this 3 times a week for 30 minutes. A lot of these students are not very successful academically, but it gives them a place to be. They do a lot of outreach for blind and deaf students. They go to retirement homes and do a lot of great things for the community. And you know what? All of those things teach teamwork. And all of those things teach a sense of belonging. And for all those kids in Happy Hands Club, they go to Miss Smith's room every day before school starts. That's their home away from home. That's their family. Kids on the baseball team feel that way. Girls on the dance team feel that way. And all those programs are way, way less expensive than yours. You need four directors, or 3 directors, whatever I said earlier in the scenario. We pay you $36,000 a year, plus we pay for your insurance. The wooden clarinet you bought last year with capital outlay money, you spent the entire $5,800 on this wooden buffet clarinet. And I get it, it's going to be on the shelf, and it's going to allow kids in the next 20 years to play a high-quality bass clarinet, but it only affects one kid. $5,800. You know how much the chess club cost us that has 200 kids participating? Nothing. Chess boards are donated for free. The people that direct that do it for free. We have all the military retirees that volunteer to do that for free. We just can't justify the outcomes that you named as being so important with the amount of money. It's a lot to think about. And you finally say, okay, Bob, again, next time I'm in this position, which hopefully I never will be, what do I need to talk about? Bob looks at you and he says, Mark, you're a great guy. I enjoy everything you offer here at church, being in the church choir, supporting music here, everything you've done for our kids in our community, but you never, ever mention the word music. You never said music was important. You never said music making was important. You never said exploring music as an incredibly unique and special thing to the human species just because we need it. Apparently we need it. It engulfs so much of what we do, from TV to advertising to movies to just humming things in your head. It's an amazing phenomenon. The goosebumps that I can get from music and nothing else. Participating on stage and playing a concert, and just how I feel and how much that drives me to go home and learn more about this composer. That it drives me to want to do this the rest of my life. To donate money in the future to band programs or after-school programs to allow other kids to have the experiences that I had. You never talked about music. You never talked about music making. You never made music more special than those other things by saying what music and music only can offer. A lot to be said there. I get lots and lots of philosophies that justify what we do based on things that so many other activities can do. But those philosophies never talk about music making. It doesn't mean those other things are not important. And some administrators want to hear those other things. Some other school members want to hear that band saves kids and gives kids something to do. Otherwise, they're going to drop out. And those things are important. But as a global community, I want to challenge you to think about that. If we keep promoting music makes you smarter, which it doesn't, we'll talk about that later, there is no proof that music makes you smarter anywhere. If you find some of that research, let me know. Then maybe that's all they think we do. Maybe we're actually downplaying our own profession. Oh, well, music gives them a safe place to be. Oh, it gives kids something to do on Friday night. Oh, it's a place kids can congregate in the morning so that the halls are not so full. Oh, I believe music makes you smarter, so as long as we keep them in band, maybe our test scores will go up. But they're not supporting us because they believe in music. Something to think about. Anyhow, hope you have a great rest of your day, and look forward to making the next video for you. I'm going to eventually get some video of the entire on-campus class doing some interaction and some things that maybe you can see what some of your on-campus colleagues are thinking, and at some point we will create a place for all of you to share lots of information with each other. It's been very unique having an online and an on-campus version of this course. So anyhow, take care.